The people of England are about to face much tougher restrictions as the country battles a worrying surge in COVID-19 cases. Prime Minister Boris Johnson has just been outlining the measures in Parliament. He's going to provide further details in an address to the nation later today on television at around 3 p.m. Eastern. The UK has seen more deaths from COVID-19 than anywhere else in Europe, and the Prime Minister told MPs the country is now in a perilous position and the new restrictions are absolutely necessary.
This is the moment when we must act. If we can curb the number of daily infections and reduce the reproduction rate to 1, then we can save lives, protect the NHS and the most vulnerable, and shelter the economy from the far sterner and more costly measures that would inevitably become necessary later on. So we're acting on the principle that a stitch in time saves 9.
So there is the Prime Minister, as he spoke a few minutes ago in the British Parliament, making it clear he thinks urgent action is necessary to stem the numbers. Cindy Palm is live from London. She was listening in to the Prime Minister as he spoke in Westminster. These are measures that are going to take place for the foreseeable future, Cindy, and it's going to be interesting to see how Brits react. But tell us exactly what he's just announced.
Well, Heather, the Prime Minister said that bars and restaurants will close by 10 p.m. starting on Thursday. And he's also encouraging people to work from home if they can. But this is a big reversal from the UK government's policy just from the summertime, when they were encouraging people to go back to the office if they could, and also encouraging people to eat out at restaurants to support local businesses. But what we're seeing now is the infection rate rising from 600 cases in July to 4,000 cases yesterday. Here's what the Prime Minister said about how long these new restrictions could last. Take a listen.
We will spare no effort in developing vaccines, treatments, new forms of mass testing. But unless we palpably make progress, we should assume that the restrictions I have announced will remain in place for perhaps 6 months. For the time being, this virus is a fact of our lives, and I must tell the House and the country that our fight against it will continue.
On Monday, the country's top scientists warned that if no action was taken, there could be 50,000 cases by mid-October, including 200 deaths a day, 50,000 cases per day, I should emphasize. And people here in London were asked what they thought about these new restrictions, and some of them were hesitant about whether or not this will, in fact, stop the spread of the virus. Take a listen.
I think probably just closing the bars at 10 ultimately won't go far enough, and they'll probably need to do a bit more, looking at how the curve's going up quite sharply. So yeah, maybe it's a little step in the right direction, but they might need to do more later, I think.
So I don't think it'll make a big difference, to be honest. So probably within a couple of weeks I'll have to announce something a bit more stringent.
And Prime Minister Johnson also said, Heather, that if these measures don't bring down that R rate, the transmission rate, meaning the number of people you can transmit the virus to if you have it yourself, then the UK could possibly look at even stricter measures.
One would expect he'll deliver a similar message to the people of the country in that televised address expected later on today. He warned against complacency, said it could be Britain's undoing. That is exactly the reality other European countries are facing too, Cindy, as they as well scramble to contain infections. Give us sort of the continental picture.
It's not looking good in many different countries here in Europe, particularly in Spain. That country is seeing 10,000 new cases every single day, and it's a particularly big problem in and around Madrid. The regional government has actually asked the army to step in and help to make sure that people are following these new restrictions, because several districts there in which the infection rate is very high, 1 out of every 100 people have been asked to put in place partial lockdowns, and that has been controversial. It's led to people protesting over the weekend and accusing the government of imposing what they say are discriminatory measures, because many of these measures are in districts that are poor, So they're saying that this is negatively impacting poor people more so than the rest. We're also seeing high infection rates in France, for example, particularly in the south, including in the port city of Marseille. Over the weekend in that country, there were over 10,000 new cases a day. There were 5,000 yesterday, according to the latest statistics from the French government's website. The French president, Emmanuel Macron, has vowed to try to not put in place a second national lockdown if he can. But Heather, this just goes to show the fine balance that world leaders have in terms of deciding what kind of measures to put in place and what this means for the freedom of citizens to live their lives.
Cindy, thank you. Cindy Palm on that breaking news out of Westminster. And again, we'll have coverage of that.